Hi, my name is Marco Gundermann. I'm the Head of Economics and Politics here at the University of Northampton. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me. So you're interested in economics. That's a very wise choice because we need more economists, especially good ones. And if you study with us, I'm convinced that you're going to be a good one. So why economics? Well, economics is about decision making. Almost any decision you make in life, if that's your personal life, about your finances, or whether you want to go out with your friends, it's all about economics. When you have a business, if you're a manager or you have your own business, it's all about economics. What price should I charge? Will I make more profit with a higher or with a lower price? Should I stop producing this? Should I change jobs? Is it worthwhile to study more, get another qualification? If you work for the government or if you're a politician, economics helps you to understand whether you should be raising taxes, lowering taxes, having a trade deal with the European Union, or rather with the United States, whether you should be increasing interest rates or whether you should be decreasing interest rates if you're working for the Bank of England. All these kind of decisions you do with economics. Now, I'm not saying economics has all the answers, but economics is unique in that it helps you understand what the question is. And that, quite often, is the battle, actually. Understanding what the trade-off is. And economics is all about trade-offs. Take opportunity costs, right? Should I go out or study more? Kind of depends. How much have you studied? How much more will you learn if you study one more evening? What's going to happen when you go out? How successful is that going to be? And so you weigh up the alternatives. That's what economics is. All right, so this is why you should be studying economics. It is no accident that the starting salaries for economists are the second highest. The only group of people that earns more than economists are dentists when they start out. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to play around with my hands in another person's mouth. So I'm rather an economist, so second highest starting salary is fine with me. And I'm always amazed when I look at all the jobs that my former students have. They work for financial companies, investment banks, they work for analysts. So if you're an economist, you can analyze companies, you can analyze the financial markets, you can analyze countries. But that's not all you can do when you're an economist. You can be a manager. You can have your own business. All this you can do when you're an economist. And because economists have a lot of skills, they're very much sought after. All right, so don't hold back. Right? Go for your dream career. So it's obvious why you should study economics. I might be biased, but it's one of the greatest professions out there. But why here at the University of Northampton? Let me start with the obvious. We don't have boring lectures. That's a thing of the past for us. What we do have are interactive workshops. And so you get just as much time with us as you would at another university, even more, if you want to. What do you do in those interactive workshops? You prepare for them, and then the lecturer will help you visualize and understand what the important things are that have to be discussed. And then you either solve the problem with others in class and with the lecturer, or you discuss something, you debate something. It's a much better way of learning. And it will equip you for your careers. When my students talk to me about the reasons why they're successful in their careers, They say it's because you taught us to debate, to discuss, to stand our ground, not with arrogance, but with understanding, right? When it becomes clear that you know what you're talking about, that's far more impressive than anything else. And it doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is. I want someone I can rely on to understand what's going on. Right? And that's what we put the emphasis on. What about assessments? We do assessments that actually prepare you for life and that actually test your understanding. What we're not testing is your memory. So no more exams. This is a thing of the past. We moved on. I'm confident that you're in good hands here. But that's not all. These are the obvious things that you know if you looked at our website. During the last big economic crisis in 2008, students coming home for Christmas, sitting at the dinner table, were being asked, so you're studying economics, what the heck is going on with the economy and the banks? And the students couldn't explain, because they were taught how to solve equations. They haven't been taught how to actually explain the real world. And so in response, a number of economists from around the world came together to completely change the way that economics is being taught. And I played a small part in that. And so a number of universities from around the world have adopted this new way of teaching economics. And you can learn all about that by Googling core economics, C-O-R-E, core economics, and you'll find out everything about it. How is it different? Well, traditionally, what universities did was to start teaching economics with very simple models that had nothing to do with reality. Some time later, maybe at the end of the third year, the real world would be introduced. Well, with core, which is the approach that we have also decided to use, that's very different, because we start with the real world, right? So here is a problem. Here is something interesting from the real world. So that's what we want to talk about. That's what we want to analyze. How do we do that? Well, here are tools that economists have to understand that. And so it's more difficult. We start with the complicated stuff from the very start. The results speak for themselves. Since we introduced that new way of teaching, making it more difficult, results have improved. And not just a little bit, but significantly. Students are doing much, much better in their first year, not just in the first year, but also in the following years. How can that be? It's quite simple, really. And you know this yourself. If you're interested in something, you're going to be good at it. Make it interesting. That's what we do. Everything that you learn here, you're going to be able to use later. So what kind of assessments do we have? Well, we might give you a set of questions to work on, and then you have 2 days to give us the answers. Or maybe we just give you one question to work on and give you longer to work on that, because we want you to go deeper. Or we might ask you to analyze something and then tell us about it in class, because that's what you do in the workplace. In the workplace, you will be asked to write something about an analysis on something. Or you might be asked for the next meeting to talk about something. So this is what you will be doing here as well. And so this is what we're going to be talking about. And so in every year, year 1, year 2, year 3, we're going to be talking about the big things, macroeconomics, and the small things, microeconomics. And we're going to build from year to year. But we're also going to be looking in every year at microeconomics. So everyday decisions that you make in a business, for instance. or analyzing markets. And we're going to be looking at policy making. The big policies, interest rates, tax rates, the small policies, the sugar tax, what are the consequences of a local lockdown. You will be able to, for instance, look at the situation we have right now with the virus and see what the economic consequences are. But economists also get it wrong, and they get it wrong quite often. Of course, they're dealing with the real world. The real world is difficult, and there are different approaches. You're going to find out pretty quickly that the different economists that you encounter, they don't just look different because they come from different parts of the world and different backgrounds, so they reflect society, but they differ in their approach to economics, and that's a good thing. And so later on, when you're dealing with an expert opinion, you don't just have to accept it. You're going to recognize, he's using that approach. Now this is what I know about that approach, so this is what I can say about it. We're going to have modules for you where we talk explicitly about that. How has the thinking in the economics profession changed over time? What else are we going to do in the second year? You're going to have a choice between development economics and game theory. Now, development economics is all about the rich world and the poor world and why that is and what we should do about it. And game theory is about strategy. I'll give you an example. Cortes, the Spanish conqueror, he came to South America to conquer land for Spain. Now they arrived and they found out a lot more of them than of us, and they're not actually afraid of us. This is going to be a risky undertaking, right? So you're the commander, what do? You can see what your men are thinking. So even before game theory was invented, he used game theory. And with game theory, you start at the end, the result that you want, and then you work yourself back. What are all the decisions people make at different points? And how will my actions influence their decisions? And so he could see what they were thinking. They were thinking, well, whether we succeed doesn't depend on me, it depends on all of us. So there's no point of me fighting as much as possible, as strong as possible, putting myself at risk if the others don't. And everyone is afraid, and we don't think we have a good chance. So it's unlikely that the others will really risk their lives more than they have to. So I won't. And so the battle was lost before it started. So what could he do? Well, he changed the trade-off, right? Remember, I said economics is all about trade-offs. He changed the trade-offs. He destroyed the ships. There was no way back for the soldiers. It takes quite some time to build a ship. They wouldn't survive that long unless they won the war. So he changed the trade-off. No ships. Can't escape. You have to win. And so now, it was in the interest of every single person to fight as hard as possible, because it was the only way out, because they knew that if not, they would be killed by the people who were not very happy that they're coming to their country. This is game theory. Now in your third year, you're going to write a dissertation. A dissertation is a very valuable asset to you, because you can decide that this is what I'm really interested in. This is what I want to do in my career. And so I'm going to analyze something in that area. And so then you can go to your employer and say, you know, your potential employer, and say, you know, I'm already an expert in this. I analyzed this. I got a good grade for that. I can tell you a lot about it. So this is the dissertation, and it will take up quite a big part of your third year. Now, what else do you do in your third year? Of course, microeconomics, macroeconomics, something I haven't talked to you about yet, but which you're going to be doing in every year as well, is data analysis and also math. So in the first year, you do math and data analysis. In the second year and in the third year, you do more data analysis. Now, I know that's not popular with most people, all right? And to be honest, I like the philosophy side of economics. Right? I became an economist because I wanted to make the world a better place. So I'm interested in that. And economics is all about that. It's about what is important in life and how do we get there. What is acceptable to do to get there? Should we opt for higher living standards, or should we opt for more equality? Now, sometimes more equality actually leads to higher living standards. But there is some degree of inequality, I would argue, that you need in order to have the mechanism that gets you to higher living standards. And so there's a trade-off. How much inequality are you willing to accept in order to get higher living standards faster? So economics is all about philosophy, but it's not just thinking about something, although that's also fun, but it's being concrete about it. What does that mean in the real world? What do we need to do? But there's also numbers. Because when we're talking about the real world, we also need to look at data. And I look at data, but I'll be honest with you, that side of economics, I don't particularly enjoy. But I can do it. And so, you don't have to love numbers to become an economist. So if you think that, no, I can tell you from personal experience, you don't have to be an expert in numbers, okay? We will teach you everything you need to know. We don't assume anything. If you're already quite good with math and numbers and data, good. We will teach you more. If not, it's a weakness of yours, well, we will help you. We will enable you to get the skills that you need. And there's not a lot of math you really need to know. There's some, not a lot. And data analysis isn't actually, when you start doing it, it's not that difficult, right? So don't be afraid of that. We're going to do that for you. And finally, in your third year, you're going to have to decide whether you want to do a module on international economics. So you're looking at international trade. It's obviously quite important at the moment when we're discussing trade deals. Or whether you want to know more about the difference between the poor and the rich countries and the political mechanisms behind that. That is what we're offering to you. And we're always working on new ways to make what we offer you even better. And so I hope I will be able to meet you in person sometime. All right? Any questions, just email us. Bye.